They laughed at the poor girl the moment she stepped through the golden doors of the charity ball. It was the kind of laughter that doesn't need volume to wound, the kind that hides behind crystal glasses and diamond smiles. The ballroom shimmered under chandeliers the size of small cars. Silk gowns brushed against polished marble floors. Tuxedos carried the scent of power and expensive cologne. Cameras flashed, wealth sparkled in every corner. And then she walked in. Her dress was simple, not designer, not stitched in Paris or Milan. No glittering label hidden inside the collar. Just soft fabric, carefully pressed, chosen with trembling hands. Her heels were modest, her jewelry almost invisible. Her hair tied back in a way that suggested effort but not excess. She did not belong there. At least, that's what they thought. The invitation in her hand had been checked twice at the door. The guard had scanned the guest list again, suspicious. A woman like her, here. At this charity ball where CEOs signed checks worth millions and socialites competed over who donated more. But her name was there, so the doors opened. She stepped inside, holding her breath. Around her, whispers bloomed like poisonous flowers. Who is she? Is she someone's assistant? Maybe she won a ticket. Did they start inviting anyone off the street? A group of women near the champagne fountain tilted their heads, studying her like she was an exhibit. She looks lost. Poor thing probably doesn't even know which fork to use. They laughed softly, and she heard every word. Her fingers tightened around her clutch. For a moment she considered turning around. The marble floor felt too slippery, the air too heavy, the music too loud. She could leave now. No one would miss her. But she stayed. Because she had not come there to belong. She had come there because she was invited, not by a raffle, not by pity, but by the host. The charity ball was organized by one of the most influential men in the city, a businessman whose name appeared in financial magazines, whose face had graced the covers of industry journals, whose speeches could move markets. He was known for his sharp mind, his strategic brilliance, and his carefully guarded private life, and tonight he was the center of attention. He stood at the far end of the ballroom, surrounded by investors, politicians, and philanthropists. Cameras followed him. Laughter echoed around him. He wore a tailored black suit that fit him like authority itself. Every few seconds, someone leaned in to shake his hand, and then he looked up. Across the sea of wealth and whispers, his eyes found her. Everything else blurred. The music continued. Glasses clinked. Conversations hummed. But in that split second, his world narrowed to the girl standing alone near the entrance, trying to look invisible. His lips softened. He excused himself from the group without explanation. People noticed. When a man like him moves, people watch. He walked across the ballroom with steady steps, confident, certain. The crowd parted instinctively. Curious eyes followed his direction, and they saw her. The poor girl in the simple dress. The laughter grew louder. Is he going to ask her to leave? Maybe she snuck in. This should be interesting. She saw him coming toward her. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure the entire ballroom could hear it. She had imagined this moment 100 times, but imagination never captures the weight of reality. He stopped in front of her. For a second, they just looked at each other. In his eyes, there was no embarrassment, no apology, no doubt, only warmth. You came, he said softly. She nodded. You invited me. A few guests nearby exchanged glances. This was not what they expected. He offered his arm. Walk with me. The room went silent as she placed her hand on his arm, not because of fear, but because she trusted him. Together they walked toward the center of the ballroom. Whispers turned into stunned silence. The band faltered for half a beat before recovering. Every camera shifted direction. Who was she? They reached the stage where a microphone stood waiting for the host's annual speech. This was the moment donors expected to hear about the foundation's achievements, the moment investors expected to be praised, the moment journalists prepared to take notes. Instead, he did something no one saw coming. He didn't release her hand. He stepped up to the microphone, pulling her gently beside him. The crowd leaned forward. He cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice calm and steady. Thank you for being here tonight. Every year this event raises millions for those in need, and every year we celebrate generosity. Polite applause. He paused. But tonight, I want to celebrate something else. Eyes shifted between him and the woman standing beside him. He looked at her, and the softness returned. Many of you are wondering who this woman is. A ripple of nervous laughter passed through the crowd. He continued, some of you have already formed opinions. Silence. You've judged her dress, her posture, her silence. The laughter died completely. You saw her walk in and decided she did not belong. The air felt thinner. She does belong here, he said firmly. He turned fully toward her. She belongs beside me. A murmur broke out. He reached for her hand again, raising it gently. This is my wife. The word echoed through the ballroom like thunder. Wife. Gasps filled the space. One woman dropped her glass. A man near the back whispered. Impossible, but it was real. She stood there, trembling, as the world shifted around her. He continued speaking, but now his voice carried something deeper than authority. It carried memory. When I first met her, she was working 2 jobs. Not because she was ambitious, but because she had no choice. She supported her younger brother after their parents passed away. She skipped meals so he could eat. She walked miles to save bus fare. She endured humiliation with dignity. The crowd listened. She never asked for rescue. She never asked for pity. He looked at her as if the chandeliers had dimmed and only she remained illuminated. She asked for nothing and gave everything. The people who had laughed earlier now avoided eye contact. I met her at a time when I was drowning in my own success, he continued. I had wealth. I had influence. I had power, but I did not have perspective. He smiled faintly. She gave me that. The ballroom felt different now. The glitter seemed less blinding, the perfume less overpowering. She taught me that strength does not wear designer labels, that dignity does not require diamonds, that love does not check bank accounts before entering a heart. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. I invited you all here tonight to support those in need, he said. But before you congratulate yourselves on generosity, I want you to understand something. He squeezed her hand gently. Compassion is not writing a check and posing for a photograph. Compassion is seeing value where others see none. It is respecting people before you know their status. The room was silent. When she walked into this ballroom tonight, many of you laughed. The words were not angry. They were factual. She heard you. A visible wave of guilt spread across faces. But she stayed, he added, because she has faced far worse than whispers in silk dresses. She swallowed hard, tears threatening to fall. I did not marry her because she needed saving, he said clearly. I married her because she saved me. The statement landed heavily. Saved him? The powerful businessman? The respected host? Yes, he continued. She reminded me that success without humility is emptiness, that wealth without kindness is poverty, that love is not about matching social status, but matching souls. Someone in the crowd began to clap, then another, and another. Soon the entire ballroom was filled with applause. Not polite, not forced, but humbled. He turned toward her again. They laughed at you tonight, he said softly into the microphone, though the words were meant only for her. But I have never been prouder to stand beside you. Tears slipped down her cheeks now. For years she had been invisible, overlooked, judged by worn shoes and second-hand clothes. Tonight, she stood under chandeliers not as a charity case, but as the wife of the most powerful man in the room. But more than that, as his equal. He faced the audience once more. If you leave here tonight remembering only one thing, he said, let it be this. The measure of a person is not found in their bank account, but in their heart. He lowered the microphone, and instead of returning to the circle of elites, instead of shaking hands or accepting praise, he did something radical. He asked the band to play. Then he led her to the center of the dance floor. Under the lights that once exposed her, they danced. Not perfectly, not extravagantly, but sincerely. And as they moved together, something shifted in that ballroom. The laughter was gone. In its place was understanding, because the truth had been revealed in the simplest way possible. The poor girl they mocked was not out of place. Their assumptions were. And as the night continued, guests approached her not with condescension, but with apology. Not with curiosity about her dress, but admiration for her strength. Yet she did not gloat. She did not remind them of their earlier whispers. She simply smiled, because she had nothing to prove. She had already won, not the ballroom, not the approval, but the love of a man who saw her when the world did not. And in the end, that was worth more than every diamond in the room. They laughed at the poor girl at the charity ball, until the host called her his wife. And in that moment, the richest lesson in the room was not about money. It was about humility, dignity, and the power of love to silence every cruel whisper ever spoken. Because sometimes, the one who appears to have the least is the one who carries the most.